Hey everybody, welcome back to Conscientious Omnivore. My name is Pal. On my way back from another training tonight, and I just wanted to do a video with two purposes. One is to give you guys an announcement that tomorrow I'm going to be doing a live stream with Ellie from the Phlegm Face. That is her channel. If anybody is not familiar with her stuff, go over and subscribe to her channel. I'm going to link her channel below in the description. And anyway, she's got a bunch of great vegan content. Go check her out. But she and I, and potentially some other guests, will be talking about hunting, specifically as it relates to hunting in the UK, and fox hunting, trail hunting, hunting saboteurs, etc. And it's going to be a pretty exciting discussion, I think. We've got a couple of good recent events to discuss, and just kind of give an overview if anybody's not familiar with the topic. So I look forward to that. It's going to be tomorrow, well, depending on when you see this, I guess, but Thursday at 12 noon Eastern time for the people in the US. It's going to be at 5 p.m. GMT for the people in the UK, and 6 p.m. for the people in Hungary, so GMT plus 1. And yeah, so tune in for that. Make sure to be subscribed if you want to get the notification. That should be the approximate time we should be starting. So that's the first thing. So thanks everybody for that. Next, I want to talk about hunting and give my personal kind of experience with it and what I think of it, and give you guys kind of a story of what prompted me to make this video. So yeah, basically I guess we go back, way back, when I was in high school. A good friend of mine from the soccer team convinced me to go try out for the rifle team. And I had actually never shot any kind of firearms before, but I went and tried out for the team, and I did pretty well. I actually seemed to have a knack for it, and by the end of that year, I was actually on the varsity team, and our team finished second in the state, so we were quite good. I actually did really well in that final meet, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. I really got into kind of the idea of guns and firearms and like gun rights and all this kind of stuff. It's a whole topic for another video, but my views on that have changed significantly since high school. But anyway, I basically also had this idea, like many people do, this romanticized idea of hunting, and I wanted to go hunting. So I actually did my hunting safety certification course so I could get a hunting license, which I did, and I actually ended up getting a small caliber hunting rifle. This was after high school already. I was working and attending college, and I went and got a small caliber hunting rifle. I used to do regular target practice with that. I was, like I said, a pretty decent shot, so it's not a question of not knowing the safety or the actual shooting of the firearm. So anyway, long story short, on my parents' property, it was legal. They had a big enough property that we could actually do target practice in the backyard there, and I regularly did that. And we had a big garden there. My mom was always big into gardening, and squirrels were always a nuisance. And there were some friends that I knew who were hunters and stuff like that. Several of them used to go hunting for squirrels, and they used to make soup and I don't even know whatever else out of them. And I had it in my mind that, well, since the squirrels are a nuisance anyway, I'm going to shoot a squirrel and cook it up for dinner. So as terrible as this may be, or it might be shocking to people who kind of know me as this peace-loving vegan, yeah, that was me like 20 years ago or whatever. And so in my mind, I had this romanticized idea that, like, it's better if you know where the your food is coming from, and in some ways, I don't actually say that it's not better to kind of know that and have the blood on your hands instead of paying money to somebody else to do it for you. But that's not really what I want to talk about. So anyway, so I ended up shooting this squirrel, and poor little guy didn't die, and it was horrible. Like I know I hit the squirrel, and like I say, I was a good shot, and it wasn't even that far away, and but it didn't die, and the squirrel pretty much kind of ran off into the woods. and I obviously tried to, catch up to him and get him. And he ended up going into this kind of like tree stump thing that was like rotted out, and he ended up climbing up into that, and there was no way I could get it. And so, I pretty much, after a bunch of different kind of attempts of trying to get it out and various things, because I didn't want it to be suffering, because I knew I had shot it, I could see the blood on the ground and stuff. I ended up having to basically leave it, and I couldn't get it out of there. I have no idea whatever happened to that squirrel. It's possible that it may have survived. It's also possible that it may have just succumbed to its injuries later. And to this day, this is something that actually kind of bothers me, and I do feel bad about it. And that was actually my first and last foray into hunting. And even though, like I said, I had every intention of kind of like getting into it, I decided that, this is just ridiculous. I mean, it's like, I was a good shot and I still couldn't, kill the poor thing. And so I just inflicted a bunch of pain on it, and then it ended up, who knows in what kind of state. So the reason I tell you this is not so that you can hate me, but so that you can understand that I can at least sympathize or empathize with people who are hunters or who have that mindset, because I myself had that mindset. And it's something that I've talked about before in various videos. I used to really strongly believe that we had to eat animal products for health. So I thought it was absolutely necessary, not just like optional, not just like whatever. I absolutely believed, truly deep down, that it was absolutely necessary. And obviously now I don't believe that to be the case anymore. But at that time, that's how, it wasn't even like I had to justify it. It was just something that had to be done, and I was trying to do it as, kind of like, I guess, best way as I could. And I had thought like, okay, hunting is this like clean kill and all this kind of stuff, and I quickly realized that it's very often not, and the animals are often left with horrific injuries, prolonged suffering, etc., and that's if they get killed. So anyway, that's the background of the story. And I pretty much really quickly after that lost interest in firearms, in shooting, in target practice, everything. So it really just kind of changed my view on it. And I will also add that as a kid, I used to go fishing a lot. And I've caught so many fish, it's ridiculous. I have no idea how many fish I've caught. But even back as a kid, I used to hate people who would go sport fishing. I thought that was the most stupid thing and most horrifically cruel thing that I could imagine. Even as a little kid, I thought that was ridiculous. I caught a fish, and I killed it, and I ate it. My mom cooked it, and we ate it. And I never once, caught more fish than I thought we would eat. And I never caught a fish just for fun and then let it go. That is not something that I thought was okay, and I still don't think it's okay. And I think very much that trophy hunting is the equivalent of sport fishing. It's like the thrill of the catch, or the this idea that it's a sport. It's like I say, even when I was myself doing this and killing the animals directly, I didn't think it was for sport. I thought it was for food, and that's what we did. And I'll tell one more story. As a kid, we went fishing and ended up catching this little catfish by mistake. I guess not by mistake, but I caught a little catfish, and it was tiny. And we ended up bringing it home in a little, fish cooler or whatever, and it was still alive. And I just didn't have the heart to kill it. It was so small. It wasn't like you were going to get any really food off of the thing. And so my brother and I decided we were going to keep it and return it back to the lake. So we kept it alive for a week or something, maybe even longer, I don't remember, in this little container with water. We kept regularly moving the water around so it made sure it had enough oxygen, and we would feed it worms and stuff. And then when we went back to the lake, we actually let it go, and it swam away. So I tell all of this to kind of set the the background. Sorry for taking so long. Just a week ago or whenever, when we had a lot of snow, my wife and I took the kids out into the woods. She knew some places that back when she was a kid, they used to go sledding. And I pulled the kids up on the sleds, and then we were going to go sledding. anyway, we get out to this part in the woods that's kind of like this little place just outside the village, and you know, we noticed like a whole bunch of tracks on the way there. I was like really excited to be showing the kids all the different animal tracks in the snow. There were like rabbit tracks and deer tracks and all sorts of stuff. And as we were getting down this little valley, I just noticed like tons and tons more tracks. Like it was just like a converging point of like all these like animal tracks. And it turned out there was like a huge dump of like fruits and veggies like on the ground at the bottom of this little valley. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I found like a little salt lick, and you know, basically like what it was is that's a place in the you know, in the forest where hunters actually dump a bunch of food to bait animals to that location. And ridiculously close, as you can see in the video that I'm playing underneath this, they have a hunter blind off to the side. And I've seen these before in a bunch of different places where I run in the woods. And apparently, according to my wife, this is actually illegal here in Hungary. You are not supposed to be allowed to hunt the animals that are feeding at these like food, you know, feedlot areas or whatever the heck they're called. Because like, I guess, you know, they have the salt licks out for the deer and all this kind of stuff. And that's supposed to be, you know, done by the forestry management or whatever. And but hunters do this anyway, so I think it's illegal, but they do it anyway. But this one in particular was so ridiculously close that like I was just like, man, there's like it's like hardly any distance. Like, you know, what kind of sport is in this? Like, I mean, so anyway, this is what I like prompted my whole thing of making the video. That I really want to make it clear to a lot of people that, you know, despite this romanticized idea that a lot of these, like, especially these carnivore people kind of tend to espouse, it is the farthest thing from the truth that you can imagine. So many people who are hunters in today's day and age, and I'm not talking about subsistence hunting, I'm not talking about people who are living off of that, I'm not talking about people who have no other choice and they live out in the middle of nowhere and like it's dead of winter and they're gonna go shoot a deer because if they don't, it's them or the deer, you know, like they're gonna die. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about like people who live like where I live, like, you know, like within a 1 hour drive of like any kind of store that you can ever imagine. 1 hour, probably like half-hour drive of like any kind of thing you can ever possibly imagine. Like, there is no life or death situation happening here. These people are going out into the woods and baiting animals with produce that was probably bought in the supermarket down the street, and you know, dumping that into the ground in the winter when food is scarce and these wild animals are coming over there, and then, you know, using that to lure them in and then shooting them from like whatever, I don't know, 20-30 feet away. I mean, it's like, it's beyond ridiculous. It literally is like the expression, the shooting fish in a barrel or whatever. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I just can't even, it was actually quite upsetting. Even my kids were like, what is this? And we explained it to them, and they were just like, wow, like, you know, like really upset. My son was like, man, these hunters should shoot themselves. I was like, whoa, okay, let's discuss this. But, you know, I could understand why he was so upset. And because, you know, on the way there we were talking about like the cute, you know, paw prints in the snow and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just crazy story. I just wanted to tell you guys about this and really kind of give my views on it. That, you know, I think to some extent, if somebody is going to, you know, live off of animals that they themselves kill, is it one step better than, you know, commercial mainstream agriculture? Probably. Is it better than growing your own veggies and potatoes and what have you, and fruits and vegetables in your own, you know, food forest? Definitely not. And despite what, you know, some people will claim, you know, when they say, oh, like these Western, you know, vegan diets where you're importing the avocados from Mexico and the oranges from wherever, and et cetera, that is not as ethical as the people who are going out and shooting these animals. I call BS on that. Because I can see it with my own eyes, like how they, you know, get these animals, and I'm sure it's, you know, it's different in your country if you take that view, and I'm sure there are some people who are going and bushing, you know, going through the bush and like, you know, dragging the animal back, you know, 50 miles or something on their back and whatever. And yeah, I'm sure, yeah. But I got to tell you, I mean, from what I see, and I've seen a lot of this just running around here on the trails, it's not this romanticized like thing at all. It is people being incredibly lazy. When you see these pictures of people who are these trophy hunters, I mean, most of them look like they wouldn't even survive a 5-mile hike, let alone be able to run like a 5K. They are not fit. They are not, supreme hunting beings. They're a bunch of lazy, fat, and I don't mean to disparage somebody who's got, weight problems or is obese. I'm saying specifically about these people that it's like they're almost like taking the view that they are somehow more, more of a primal, masculine, whatever, person, and they're really just not. And I guess that's all I kind of wanted to say. I don't know how anybody else feels about this topic. I don't know if like any of the vegans are watching, if they can relate, if you went fishing or whatever. And I mean, it's like a sad thing that I do think about every now and again, that I did my share, and I regret it. And I'm really glad that like my kids hopefully won't have to have that kind of memory to carry with them. And I thought it was normal. I really thought that was not only normal, but absolutely necessary. I absolutely thought it was necessary and important, and that's kind of how I was brought up. And I'm happy to now be able to show my kids a better way. So yeah, that's it for the video. Let me know what you guys think below. I'm curious if anybody else has similar experiences. But I just wanted to get that off my chest and also let you guys know about the discussion tomorrow. I think it's going to be very interesting. Definitely tune in. There's a lot about UK trail hunting that I have only really just recently understood what it even refers to, and I just encourage everybody to join if you don't know what it is, because it's pretty ridiculous. It goes along the lines of kind of what I'm saying, just completely unnecessary. There isn't even this idea of like, oh, I'm doing it to sustain myself or family or whatever, like food. It's just absolutely barbaric and cruel for no reason. So yeah, tune in tomorrow, and see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Bye.